Assalamualaikum and a very good day to our lecturer, Dr. Rusman Ghani and our fellow friends. Today, we are from Group 4. We'll continue with the last two subtopics for Chapter 4, which are 4.5, Computerized Assisted Information System Audit Technique, and 4.6, Continuous Auditing Technique. Okay, before I start, let me introduce myself first. My name is Nur Azariza binti Muhammad Faizul and my metric number is 261199. First of all, when we talk about information system, usually it will relate with the software. Okay, there are two main techniques for computerized assisted IS audit, which are specialized software and test data. Okay, what is specialized software? Specialized software refers to any computer program that was utilized to improve the audit process. Generally, it's used to refer to any data extraction and analysis software. This would include programs such as data analysis and extraction tools, spreadsheets such as Microsoft Excel, database such as Microsoft Access, statistical analysis such as SAS, while specialized audit software is written in a procedure or problem-oriented language to fulfill a specific set of audit tasks. The purpose and user of the software are well defined before the software is written. It's different with generalized audit software, where the specific tasks to be taken by the software and the identity of user will not be known at the beginning. Okay, next we move to the reason why this specialized audit software need to be developed. The first reason is because of the unavailability of alternative software. Auditing might be using a specialized hardware platform on which only a minimally suite of hardware will run. The second reason is because of the limited function of alternative software. It's because of the function of generalized audit software that is limited. For example, auditors cannot perform complex audit with large number of data. This function is needed to check across multiple sectors like taxation, bank account, share transaction, and many more. Next, the third reason is because of the efficiency consideration, where auditor often develop specialized audit software because it can perform the matching task more efficiently than generalized audit software. Not only that, specialized audit software also need to be developed because it can increase understanding of the system. How? By preparing program specification and to write the source code for specialized audit software. This helps in computer matching efficiency as gain valuable insight into the application system. The fifth reason is because of the easy implementation. Auditor might be able to insert a few instructions in an application system that gathers data critical to a judgment on the reliability of controls in an application system. And the last reason for developing specialized audit software is it can increase auditor independence. It is because auditor can develop their own software and don't have to rely on the auditee to provide software or staff support. They also demonstrate professional competence. Next, I will continue with how to develop and implement specialized audit software. There are three ways. The first one is specialized audit software can be developed by the auditors. This way exercise a high level of control over the software and produce high quality software with good analysis, design and programming. Next, it can be developed by the internal and external auditors where they can use their own programmer to develop and implement software. And the last one is the software can be prepared by the outside vendor. This way consume higher cost, but it provides extra assurance that the integrity violation will not occur during the development and implementation process. Auditors may use this way if their software is quite sensitive. Okay, the last one is the advantages and disadvantages of specialized audit software. Okay, let's look into the advantages first. The first advantages is it focus approach, and they are independent of the system being audited and will use a read-only copy of the file to avoid any corruption of an organization data. Next is capable of performing exactly what is required in a particular application. And the last one is it meets the need of the auditor. Documentation was provided of each test performed in the software that can be used as a documentation in auditor work paper. Next is the disadvantages of specialized audit software. Firstly, it is limited applicability. Not only that, it also requires high development costs as the cost to develop the software is not cheap and many procedures need to be followed. And the last disadvantages is high level of expertise. When a new program is used, auditor must be trained on how to use it correctly and whether they should change the program or not, which can lead to high costs in time and money for auditing firm. That's all from me. I will pass the presentation to my group members, Nasuha, to continue with the second technique.
Hi, my name is Nurasa binti Norsham, and today I would like to present about test data in computerized assisted audit techniques. Okay, basically, what is test data? Okay, auditors submitting dummy data into the client system to ensure that the system correctly process it and that it prevent or detects and corrects misstatement. Okay, the objective of test data is to test the operation of application controls within the system and how it works. Successful data should include both data with errors built on it and the data without errors. So, for example, codes that do not exist, transaction above predetermined limit, and submitting data with incorrect batch control. Okay, next I will talk about type of test data. There are two types of test data. First one is normal operational cycle, which is live test data. Live tests could interfere with the operation of the system or corrupt master file or standing data. Next, second types of test data is special run at a point in time, which is dead test data. Okay, that testing avoid this scenario but only give assurance that the system works when not operating live. Next, I will talk about advantages and disadvantages of test data. Okay, the advantages of test data is they employ white box approach, thus providing explicit evidence. It can be employed with minimal disruption to operation, and they require minimal computer expertise on the part of the auditors. And the disadvantage of the test data is auditors must rely on IS personnel to obtain a copy of the application for testing. And next, audit evidence is not entirely independent. It provides a static picture of application integrity, and lastly, it relatively high cost to implement and auditing inefficiency. Okay, next we go to the last part of test data, which is testing computer application controls. It consists of two, which is black box around and white box true. Okay, I will explain about black box around first. So black box ignores internal logic of application. It uses functional characteristics such as flowcharts and interview key personnel, and the advantage of black box is they do not have to remove application from operation to test it. Next, appropriately applied, such as simple application and relatively low level of risk. Okay, for the white box, true, it relies in-depth understanding of the internal logic of the application, and it uses small volume of carefully crafted custom test transaction to verify specific aspect of logic controls. It allows auditors to conduct precise tests with known outcomes which can be compared objectively to actual results. Okay, that's it, my part. So my friend will continue to present about continuous audit technique.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to everyone. My name is Nur Ain Faisha. My metric number is 261049 and I will continue the presentation with subtopic 4.6 Continuous Auditing Technique. There are many types of techniques that are being used by auditors in doing audit job. Continuous auditing technique is one of the type of technique used in doing auditing work. Continuous auditing technique is being introduced since the introduction of computerized system in organization. According to AICPA 1999, continuous auditing technique is defined as a methodology that enables independent auditors to provide a written assurance on subject matters using a series of auditors' reports issued with a short time after the occurrence of event underlying the subject matters. This means that the continuous auditing technique allows independent auditors to use the series of another auditor's report in providing assurance on the subject matters. In simple words, continuous auditing technique are the technique that being used by auditors in providing assurance in real time and online basis. This continuous auditing is introduced since the computerized system computerized system used in most of organization. It produces real-time information, and to give assurance to those real-time information, traditional audit technique cannot afford that. Hence, this continuous auditing technique is introduced where the auditor can continuously give assurance to those real-time and online information. Next, there are three types of continuous audit model. This model differs according to the objective of each model. The first one is continuous audit models by Rizai. This is a conceptual framework for continuous auditing system. It would be capable for running on a distributed client-server network and is also web-enabled for transmitting data to audit workstation. The model involves several steps. The first step is that the data is collected from transactional system. This is done by linking to the tables via File Transfer Protocol (FTP), storage driver, or modem. The data are then stored on an audit server. Once on the audit server, data are extracted from a variety of platforms and systems. Data standardization is therefore required. Standard and formats are developed for storing data in the data of warehouse or mine. The data are then transformed by cleaning, validating, restructuring the data, and scrubbing with business rules. An enterprise-wide data warehouse is not required, as it may be too expensive and complex for some organizations. Instead, the data requirement would automatically be fed into several data marts. Data marts contain metadata, which details the source transaction, and extract transform load, or ETL, process as well as tests which take place. The metadata may, for example, include data file definitions, business rules, transaction processes flow, and etc. Lastly, standardized tests are created to run within the data mart. The tests are created either to run continuously or at predetermined intervals. The tests are designed to automatically gather evidence and issue exceptions reports. The second models of continuous auditing is by Onions 2003. This continuous auditing model aims to monitor the integrity of the data. Onion suggests an examination to the level of data. This is basically involve monitoring database utilities and application for command, which could cause fraud and error. This model addresses the testing of transaction in two ways. The first one is each transaction is audited and reported on as an isolated entity. This may take some time to be done. The transactions are tested at the time of entry. This is referred to as transaction level data examination. As ascertains whether each transaction fits the pre-specified rules for that transactions. This may be business rules or even rules dictating what action are allowed for certain users. This is done in conjunction with performing certain analytical function. Computerized assisted audited tools which presented previously by my friends could be used in these processes. However, this operation would be not This operation would need to be performed on the transaction in real time rather than in batches. After the transaction has been examined, it may be added to a data mine for possible further examination. The second testing transaction is the transactions are examined as a whole over for a longer time of period. Perhaps it can take even years and months. This examination looks for patterns in the transaction which could cause together in resulted of fraud. This is known as the transaction pattern level of data examination. Expert system and rule-based criteria would be employed. Rules would be similar to various definitions and would be available for different industry types. Of continuous auditing technique, or the third one, is by Woodruff and Searcy. This is a model that represents the conceptual continuous audit. This model is limited in scope and is discussed in relation of the debt covenant compliance. The model makes use of web-enabled technologies since it draws attention to the needs for a reliable and secured system. The need for the production evergreen report is also discussed. Evergreen reports is a report which are generated on demand and usually viewed through website. The model is based on database of transactions such as journals and ledger on the client system with a web interface for the auditors to use. This model is implemented. These models can be implemented in 5 stages. The first one is the request for the report is be made. The second stage is where agent and sensors within the client system monitor. The second stage is where agent and sensors within the client systems monitor the transaction data for exception to pre-specified rules. These exceptions are compared to the auditor-defined rules, and this may trigger the alarm, and alerts are sent to the auditors. The rules checks the reliability of the system, the fairness of the representation of financial reports, and compliance to the third-party contracts in this content like debt covenant agreements. The third stage is a digital agent on auditor system requests a digital agent on client system to retrieve the client real-time balances of account via stored procedures in the client's database. If more information is returned than is needed, the data agent extracts in the information relevant to the contract. This in the stage 4, and in the stage 5, an evergreen report is generated and displayed to the loan officer. This details 3 levels of assurance. The first one is assurance of reliability, which is no further analysis is performed. Second level is offer opinions on fairness of real-time financial statements, and the third one, in the third level, is providing an analysis of technical violation of third-party contracts. This is the comparison that can be concluded by the definitions, technique, and testing by the 3 models. As you can see, the comparison, I'm not detailing it out. Next, in acquiring and implementing the the continuous auditing technique. According to Woodruff and Searcy, there are 6 components that one company must follow and must have in order to implement the continuous auditing technique. Okay, the first component is the web server must be concerned and given authority to communicate. The second component is the continuous audit environment represents the data flowing through the client system and the auditor's monitoring devices within the system. The third component is continuous audit agreement. Is the contract. The agreement is the contract between parties participating in continuous auditing. The fourth component is continuous auditing is completely dependent upon the reliability of the interconnected systems. The fifth component is the transmission of information between parties must be authorized and provide confidentiality, integrity, and authentication. And the sixth component is evergreen report are audited reports. The sixth component is the evergreen report. Evergreen report is audited report available whenever the user accesses a web page in continuous auditing environment. I think that's all for me. I will pass the stage to my friends next. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and selamat sejahtera. My name is Nur Sazwani binti Ahmad Sabri and my matrix number is 264904. Okay, so basically there's the 6 steps in continuous auditing implementation plan. Okay, the first one is establish the priority area. Okay, before starting the continuous auditing project, they need to identify first the critical business processes that should be subject to the continuous auditing. This process should be cross-referenced with the organization's top risks that have been identified. They also need to understand the availability and the structure of the data. Okay, most internal audit department use risk-based audit plan where the audit strategy is aligned with the organization's goal, where they use both external and internal resources. Okay, next we move to the second step, which is the identify audit rules. The auditors have to determine the rules that will guide the audit activity that will be programmed. For example, the business can monitor their all their checking accounts every night to extract files that have the duplicate information. Okay, the third step is determine the process frequency. Auditors need to consider the routine's consistency of the process being audited, including the timing of the computer and business process in the continuous auditing. For instance, even though there is a lot of benefits if we increase the testing frequency, but extracting, processing, and following up the testing results might increase in the cost of the continuous audit activity. Step number 4 is configure parameters and execute. Rules for every rules that have been used in each audit area need to be configured first before the continuous audit procedure being implemented. Internal audit will use different types of analytic tests to conduct the continuous auditing. For example, one of the tests is data analysis. The internal audit will use different tools such as Excel to analysis and manipulate the data. And next test is ratios. The internal audit will collect and assess data from the financial statements to identify variance using ratios. Because there is too many information, so it is important for the internal auditors to present their findings in the most simple way so that everyone can understand. We move to the next step is manage results and follow-up. It is important to manage the results and do a follow-up to make sure that the message that have been delivered is correct. More importantly, continuous auditing outputs are reviewed against internal and external measures to determine the impact of finding as well as the next steps. And lastly, the next step is report results. When informing the auditees of continuous audit activity controls results, it is important for the exchange to be independent and consistent, and the conclusion of each results should be presented to management in timely manner and in a consistent and formal report that includes observation and insight into risk controls and consequences associated with the findings. And lastly, we will look into the advantages of using continuous audit. The first advantage is audit process become faster, cheaper, efficient, and effective. Why is it faster? In continuous audit, the audit process will be done frequently to real time, and it is also a digital tools integrated with system compared to traditional audits, which the audit process will be done annually. Okay, why is it efficient and effective? In continuous audit, they will focus more on solution, while traditional audit it is more on problem focus. Okay, the next advantage is short audit time cycle with more timely risk and control assurance. And the third advantage is greater audit coverage without expanding resource bases. This is because in continuous audit, they not only focus on the financial information, they also focus on the non-financial information. Okay, so that's all from us, Group 4. Thank you and have a nice day.